Catamayo for you. And today we have a very special guest from from the United Kingdom, and we will invite our friend here to go live, and we're gonna wave to our colleagues that are signing in. Hello from Boca Raton, and here it is, Mr. David Hawkins. How are you, David?
I'm very well, my friend. How are you?
Good. Well, actually, I'm quite looking at your light bulb. So if you wanna just a little bit,
It's
sorry,
not. It's night time here.
it's night.
It's 9 p.m. here.
Okay. Well, right here is 4 o'clock, and
Yeah,
I wanna.
I'd rather be there than I would be here with the weather.
Well, thank you so much. I've been your guest for a couple of times on your podcast, and am I today. You are our guest today, so thank you for joining
It's
us.
my great pleasure.
David, so you're very famous. You're all over the world. You are all over social media, the university guys. And first of all, David, how are you guys doing in the UK? How's your family? Your three lovely daughters. How is everybody?
We're fine. Family are good. Thank you for asking, Franca. Yeah, we're good. I know for those who don't know, I'm a single parent, so everyone else is living my life now of being locked at home. I've had this for a number of years of not being able to go out and have a social life. So no, I'm joking. We're fine. I mean, it's people say if our job is to sit at home and let other people do their work, then that's not a hard thing to do. So we are coming into the fourth week here of quarantine. We go out once a day. The girls go on their scooters and we head off around the park. And that's about it. I'm just so grateful to have good friends like yourself to keep in touch with, and our wonderful community that we can use all these wonderful pieces of modern technology and still do our work.
David, what are they saying school-wise? When are you guys going back to school? Has the government made any announcements of going back to school?
No news yet. So school's finished early for the Easter school holidays here, which we're now in the middle of. No news yet on schools going back. The school leaving examinations, so the A levels, BTECs, and then also the GCSEs, which students take at the end of 10th grade, have all been cancelled, and the new process for awarding those grades is happening. So I don't know. The most recent commentary I've seen is that we may go back for a week or two before the end of the school year. I spent a lot of time visiting schools all across the British Isles, giving talks and workshops, and everything's being moved virtually. So that's where we are here. What about for you guys?
For us, well, we have a social distance rule right now until April 30th, and we will wait for government announcements. But as you can tell, the cases here in the United States keep going up. So, and it is by governors. But I will say every governor has been very cautious. And right now, so far, we're working from home like you are, working from home, social distancing, exercising from home. I have a lot of recipes, cooking a lot. And actually, we just had a meeting with one of our students. He's a graduate student applying to both areas, the UK and the United States. So we will be calling you on your expertise. So
Always a pleasure.
thank you. And for those of you that just signed up, we have Mr. David Hawkins. He does the same thing I do here in the United States, but he does it in the UK. And we kind of cross paths. We send students to the UK. He sends students to the United States. David, tell us a little bit about your background. I see you're wearing something very special here. Where do you go?
It's cold. I studied history at the University of Oxford, and then did my postgraduate, my teacher training at Bristol University over here. So yeah, I'm British born, British raised, British educated. I love cricket, I love rugby, so I fit all those stereotypes. I have my mug of tea, so I'm doing all that. So yeah, my background, you and I have kind of come at this world from two different perspectives. In that obviously you came out of the higher education space doing admissions, was I came out of teaching. I was a history teacher for a number of years. Was very fortunate to be at a school with a really forward-thinking principal who wants to build a program supporting our students applying to colleges out all over the world. And I was the person lucky enough to be at the school at the time, and found myself falling into a wonderful career, built a great program at a small school called Taunton, which is where you and I first met, Hanka. Some wonderful colleagues who in the UK then, Kristen Driesen, Anna Wright, Joan Liu, John Riley, three of those four people now working in other parts of the world, but brought me into international ACAC or WACAC as it was then, taught me a lot, showed me that there was a world, and through some mutual friends, Johanna Fishbein and Eileen Penman, found myself being interviewed for the job of Head of College and Careers Counselling at the International School of Brussels. Somewhere else you and I have sat and had a drink. And did that for a couple of years, and for various complicated personal reasons, needed to come back to the UK with my three small children and find something else to do, and found myself in independent counselling.
Okay, so the title is, what is an independent counselor or consultant? IECA, independent consultant. And I've been doing it for the last 9 years. Opposed to you, I was in the admission side. You work in the high school counseling side. What is an independent counselor? What do we do, David?
Yeah, it's really interesting. When you and I sat down and we were in a conversation in Bilbao, and it's made me think a lot about it. Actually, the session you gave with our mutual friend Miguel Costa from IE University. I think there's so many different variations of what an independent counsellor is in terms of what the day-to-day is and what our specialisms are. I think in general terms, an independent educational consultant is someone who is working in a private capacity with a family who have a student going through an educational journey, and the family decides that either for time, for convenience, or because they need some particular expertise, that having a trained professional coming in and working directly with them is something that they will need. In our line of work, that tends to be higher education admissions. That tends to be higher education admissions. Mm-hmm. But there are independent education consultants who work on things like boarding school admissions. They do therapeutic consultancy for students who've got additional learning needs. There are all sorts of varieties of it. But what you and I both do, and very important to mention that you and I both do this in a way where we have bodies of professional ethics behind us. IECA, I know we're both members of. You're also members of some other organisations, in a very accredited way, but working with a family and helping them navigate these quite complicated processes.
Okay, so David, how long have you been as an independent counsellor now?
Coming up for 4 years.
Okay, so have you seen a lot of transformation from when you started until now to this point? Have you seen like a shift, a spike, a little bit?
In my work, yeah, I mean, it's more me working it out. Sorry, switch the phone over. Yeah, more me trying to understand. I think when I reflect back on it, thinking about the journey, when you're a school counsellor, people have to come to you. When I was in Taunton, it was slightly different because it was, particularly before I was doing all the counselling and I was just helping students with the international applications, that they needed me. And I had an office and they came to me and I would put on events and I had some control over them. When I was in Brussels, when I was the head of college counselling there, they had to come and see me. We mandated the parents and the students of grade 10, 11, 12, they had to meet with me. As an independent counsellor, no one has to have me. And so it's a whole different process. It's not about doing a good job, being ethical, having good connections. You have to tell that story. You have to build connections. You have to build trust. In this day and age, a lot of that is digital, websites and social media and these kind of things. But that's something that for me has been quite a big journey. I'm not a business person. I studied history. I love studying, books. If I panned around, you'd see walls full of books and things about the Visigoths and Ostrogoths and all sorts of obscure things that no one else knows anything about. So I've had to learn all those kind of things. And bit by bit, build relationships and hopefully have successes and do good jobs. But I think the work that I do in the UK is quite different from the work you and your team do in Boca Raton and in Latin America. Yes. And very different from other independent consultants that we find our well, I'll say niche and you can say niche. And we work within that.
David, because we have some questions coming from the viewers, but I have a question. We have parents watching, we will have students watching. How do you find who is the right independent counselor for you? You talk about ethics, and we are all about ethics, transparency, communication with school counselors. It's a partnership, but how do you find out the good independent counselors? What are they?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of things that you should ask as a family. I think the first thing to do, as I say, is to go to these lists of membership organisations, and really just check. There are some really good, IECA, HECA, International ACAC, NACAC, if you're just working with someone domestically in the US, Council of International Schools. But make sure that you know if something goes wrong, if there's a point in the process where you think, you know what, this isn't working out, that as a family you're going to have some recourse to somebody here, not necessarily making a complaint or anything, but just there's somebody here who's doing things properly. So the first thing would be, I would say, to check that someone's got memberships that with ethics behind them. The second thing I would do is ask around.
Okay.
Ask other people. I'm very happy to pass on details of a family I've worked with if people want to find out more before. Ask a school counsellor. Ask admissions officers, ask for references, those kind of things. Secondly, the third thing I would do is be wary of someone who comes across as too commercial.
Okay.
There are firms in our world which, I've come at this as an educationalist from a teaching point of view. You've come in it as of your colleagues out of the university. There are people who've come into this space backed by venture capital to make money, and I would anything that seems very much of a hard sell. Particularly maybe a company that's got like a real name brand famous consultant. The only time you might see that person might be an introductory meeting. Who's actually doing the work? Anything that's commercial. This is about fit. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes I will meet with a family and think, this isn't going to be a family where I can see myself helping. I don't say you should properly test the water with this kind of stuff. And any independent consultant who's worth their salt should be able to say to a family, you might not need me. You might not need us. Actually, you've got a pretty good school counsellor. What you want to do is not complicated here. You're absolutely fine. So I think you and I take it both as probably the highest compliment that anyone can pay is for a school counsellor to say, you know what, you should give this person a call, that they can help you.
Correct.
If a school counsellor is happily going to say, you should work with this person, then that's a real trust. And equally, if they're umming and ahhing, definitely. I think I'll add one other point, if I don't mind. And something I think is really important that you and I will both deal with is check that the expertise of this person is relevant for the search you're doing. I hear of stories all the time here in the UK. I visited 120 odd boarding schools in the last year or so. And I'll go in and I'll talk to the counsellors and I'll do workshops and things. And very commonly, I'll hear of a student who has worked with a counsellor in the US. So the family have decided they want to hire someone in the US who works with US high school kids going to college in the US. And I'll look at the kids' list and go, there is zero chance that the student is getting in there.
Yes.
But that counsellor, and to no fault of their own, the counsellor being hired in the US doesn't understand our system here. In the same way, I wouldn't want to counsel a kid from Medellin, Colombia, to go to school in the US, because I couldn't tell you anything about the context of a Colombian high school and what's a good student or not. So there's a difference between knowing how a US kid gets into the US high school and knowing how a kid from the British system gets in, or from the Colombian system, or from even different parts of the United States. So check for the expertise is relevant. And then again, it's late here, I can push a bit. Don't let anyone BS you.
Okay, so David, I know we have a few minutes, and I have a lot of questions for you.
Sorry.
And I promised we got 4 or 5 more minutes. So one of the questions here is, and for the people that are just watching, we are with David Hawkins, the university guys in the UK, and David is live with us right now, where he went to Oxford, and he just went. So you will come back to YouTube. This story will be live for 24 hours, and then on the JCT for Education channel, you can find this interview. David, we have a question for you. You touched upon a topic of a student from Colombia, from Venezuela. He or she didn't have the opportunity to do the IB diploma, they didn't do the AP course, curriculum, they didn't do the Cambridge curriculum. His class or her class wants to study architecture in the UK. What is your recommendation? Does it go directly into foundation? And one minute for that answer.
Yeah, keep it short. Yeah, UK system is very much based on credentials. You have to have an exam. You have to have the right grades. So if you're not being able to do any of those curriculums, then it's going to be foundation. For something like architecture, art, design, even a kid with A levels with IB would be doing a foundation anyway. The key there would be what type of foundation. A student in that scenario would want a foundation that would give them credentials as well as picking up their skills.
Okay. Okay. So let's move there. So the student basically will do that foundation, and for those students that are writing a college essay, totally different than the United States. What's the difference between a UK UCAS college essay and the US essay for colleges and universities?
Yeah, well, the big thing I always say, and this analogy I use a lot, is that America has a sport called football and the UK has a sport called football, but they are two different types of thing. And the US, in a similar way, has universities and the UK has universities, and they are as different as the two types of football. So try not to translate one to the other. Key message, the US wants your heart. They want to know who you are going to be on the campus. UK universities typically don't care who you're going to be on campus. They want to know how smart you are. They want your head. So don't tell stories. Don't talk about when you were 12 and you learnt to ride a unicycle and run over your pet tortoise and it was the worst day of your life. Talk about how good you are at architecture. That's all that cares about. And so the best way to do it, I have an activity on my website that explains this.
Okay.
Think that you're in court and you're trying to prosecute a case.
For those of you that are watching, we will have a picture later on Instagram with David's contact information and so forth, and actually accreditations. IECA, we are both members of IECA, International ACAC, NACAC. I see that you're coming on HECA very soon. So we will post that up and we will post that information. Very quickly, MBA students, what are the requirements for, and how many schools do you recommend for an MBA applicant when they are looking into the UK?
It depends what they want. It depends how competitive the programs are. MBA admissions is such a different game. People will know of the name brand places in the London Business School, may know of Imperial. Actually, there's a huge round of really, really good business schools in the UK. Very quickly, don't go name brand just in the UK. Okay. Look into the actual detail.
Okay, perfect. And last but not least, what have you heard about summer programs? I know UCL, they canceled their summer program. A lot of students, a lot of juniors, they're looking now for online summer programs. Any updates that you can send to this side of the pond?
Yeah, same here. Summer programs are getting cancelled. A lot of summer programs here are run by private companies, which may struggle financially. The one thing I'm saying to my students this year is your summer program should be helping the community. I've got a student here who's just decided that she's going to sign up and go and pick fruit for the summer because the seasonal labour won't be able to get here. Your summer program can be something completely different, but the world will need fit young people to go and do jobs. It might be cleaning the streets, it might be picking fruit, it might be cleaning office blocks, but it could be a very different summer program this year.
Okay. Now, David, it's 9:18 p.m. in London. What time, for those of you that just turned in, David has 3 beautiful daughters. What time they go to bed? And from here until you go to bed, what do? You watch movies? You're cooking? What do you do?
I'm an independent counsellor, Juan Camilo. We don't stop. We have to work. We have to pay the bills. I've got some emails to do. I might watch a bit of a documentary. You know, I'm a absolute sucker for something about US colleges. I've just started watching the new Netflix documentary Cheer about a community college down in Texas. So I might see half of that. Okay. But yeah, a few more emails to deal with tonight, my friend.
Okay. Well, David, any last thought? Any last suggestion for everybody that is watching from home?
If anyone wants to know anything more about applications to this side of the pond, UK, Europe, and whatever, I've got loads of content on universityguys.com. But Juan Camilo and the wonderful team at JCT for Education are also excellent resources. So if you work with one or other of us, you're going to have a good time and hopefully we'll do a good job.
Well, this is what I love about education. This is a partnership. I've known David for many years. We have collaborated in many projects together. He's a very smart guy. He's a straight shooter, straight to the point, no cookie cutting. He's just telling the way it is.
You mean I'm British, Wanker? That's the way we are.
And sometimes I ask him, speak English, because I don't understand the word that you say. He went to Oxford. But David, we are very proud. I'm so enthused, so proud of you, how much you developed in the last 5 years. I have seen your practice from just scratch, from an idea, and here you are. David, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a good friend, a good colleague, And remember, for you here with JCT for Education, we will house this video on YouTube, live 24 hours on Instagram, and we will have final thoughts on our Instagram account, David's recommendation. Gracias, David. Un abrazo.
Adiós, amigo.
Adiós, amigo. Buenas noches. Cheers.